All right, welcome back. Let's go ahead and continue on here into these different templates that we had just discussed in the previous video. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at application display templates before we get on to the other template options. Okay, now application display templates are free marker templates that allow us to essentially control the presentation or display of a number of different widgets or even assets. So what do I mean by that? I mean that we can add free marker templates to, let's say, the blogs display or an asset publisher or different things along those lines. Okay. Now, application display templates are a little bit unique in how they display content. They essentially need to take advantage of the asset renderer, and this will allow us to grab information about whatever kind of content we want to display and display it in a particular way. All right, so Liferay comes with a number of ADTs, we'll call them ADTs for short, that we can take advantage of on the platform. Okay, so you can see some things here. We can actually take a look at the ADT list on the platform itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap over here to our Livingston Hotels and Resorts site. Okay, I'm logged in here, so we're just going to go ahead and take a look at where we can create ADTs and what options we have. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the menu here. All right, you'll see in the build section of site administration, I have the application display template option. So I'll go ahead and click on that. Okay. All right, and for my application display template options, I can see all of the options that I have here. Okay, so there's, again, asset publisher, blogs, you have some tags and category navigations here, and then some of the other assets as well as navigation. Okay. This gives us a lot of flexibility. We already have seen or gotten a taste of the power of free marker from our theme module that we created and deployed. We can take advantage of those technologies for these other resources on the platform as well. Now, application display templates or ADTs can also be included in your own custom applications as well. Okay, so this is actually a really great way to have, let's say, the back-end team and the front-end team interact together to sort of define or provide the opportunity to have the best experience for your users. So what do I mean by that? When back-end developers are creating, let's say, custom Java applications, custom Java widgets, or different things like that, what they can do is they can actually tack on an ADT through the ADT API. Okay, now there's more information on this in the back-end developer videos if you are interested in doing that, maybe if you have some back-end experience. Okay, so what this would allow developers to do is deploy their custom module, and once it's on the platform, allow us front-end developers to go in and provide whatever presentation we want for any different circumstance. So maybe there's a need for different kinds of views depending on what site it's on. The ADT API would allow us to do that. As front-end developers, we could create essentially as many application display templates as we need. So if the application, if the widget needed to be presented a certain way on our main Livingston Hotels and Resorts sites, we can do that with an ADT. If on perhaps a Bali resort site that we have for Livingston required the same functionality, but perhaps a different presentation, we could do that as well with ADTs. Okay, so this kind of thing provides a lot of flexibility with the backend applications as well. So there is some documentation on that. Again, you guys can feel free to look at that, or you can take a look at our backend developer videos if you do have some Java experience and you'd like to learn how to not only build a custom application, but also include an ADT in there as well. All right, as we've just seen, we can build custom application display templates in the build ADT section of our site administration panel. Okay, there is a template editor for all of the kinds of templates that we're working with that give us a number of predefined variables that we can take advantage of. They help us to get started. We'll take a look at that a little bit later on, especially with the web content template section in the next video. Okay, but again, we can create them there. We can do it in an individual site, or we can do it in the global scope. Now, just a quick mention here, if you're not familiar with global, it's a special site in Liferay that contains resources that can be shared across the entire platform. So if I wanted, for example, a specific asset publisher presentation using an ADT, of course, I can create it in global, and then all of my Livingston sites can take advantage of that ADT. Okay, so just keep that in mind as well. That's something that you can work out with your team to figure out if it needs to be for all sites, maybe a specific site, but you do have that kind of flexibility here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to walk through creating some ADTs together. We'll look at a simple example first, and then we'll continue looking at some of the more advanced examples in the later videos with some of the other templating options. Okay, but this should give you a feel for what it looks like, what you need to do to actually set up an ADT. And we will, of course, do it for the asset publisher for some blogs that will be written and displayed on the Livingston site. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in together. Let's go back to the Livingston Hotels and Resorts front page here. So I'm going to close the menu. Okay, if you guys deployed that themelet with me, you may see some of that functionality going on. First, what we're going to do is we're going to get the setup needed for our ADT. So in most cases, the front-end development team is going to be working with the content team to ensure that the content and the pages are ready, and then also that the presentation and styles are ready as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to essentially act as if our content team has done some of this for us. We're going to add an application to the page, specifically the asset publisher, and then we're going to make sure that we have blogs in there as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and once we're on this front page, make sure you're logged in. Click on the add menu, top right. Open up the widgets menu. Okay, and we can actually find an asset publisher in the highlighted section here. So go ahead and do that. Open highlighted. And let's go ahead and drag the asset publisher onto the page. Okay. If you'd like, we can also go ahead and remove Hello World. So let's close this menu here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. If you still have this on the front page, you can do that with me. Just click on Options and Remove. And click OK. All right. Now, we have an asset publisher on the page here, so let me show you sort of what this would look like to configure this. I won't go into all of the details of that. That will be saved for the content management set of videos. Okay. But if I click on Options and Configuration for my asset publisher, all right, okay, and I click on Display Settings, I will see that I have a number of templates that I can take advantage of here. Okay. Now, when we create a new template, we're going to actually see the new template show up in this list, and then we can select it, and whatever content is going to be displayed here, we'll be able to display using that free marker template. So like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to display blogs in a specific way. So go ahead and close this if you open that with me. And let's make sure we import some blogs first, and then we can go ahead and create our ADT. So open the menu, go to the site administration panel, open content, and open blogs. Okay, we need to go ahead and import some blogs here. So go ahead and go to the top right, click on the options menu, and then click export import. Okay, so again, this is just going to be importing a number of blogs for us, okay, using a LAR file. So click on import, select file. All right, go ahead and navigate to your exercises if you haven't already done that. So I'm going to go to Liferay, find the LRU-REL exercises folder. I'm going to go to 05 here, customizing applications with templates. And we're going to open up the ADT section. So it's going to be that first one here, where you will find the blogs import.lar. Okay. Go ahead and open that up. Click continue and import. All right. So it may take a second or two, but you should see successful here. Okay. Once you see successful, we can go ahead and close the pop-up. All right, and we have some blogs that we can work with here. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and from there, work on our application display template. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually build the application display template using our Visual Studio Code. It'll allow us to use a few snippets and work through the actual code so we can take a look at the key points of our ADT. Once we have that done, we can go ahead and bring that code onto the platform, save it, and then take a look at how it's actually going to display on our asset publisher. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so go ahead and open up your Visual Studio Code if you don't already have it open. Okay, and then go ahead and open up your exercises folder as well. Okay. All right, so I'm here in my exercises folder. Again, that's going to be in your C Liferay or user Liferay folder. And then we're going to be in 05 customizing applications with templates. So go ahead and open that up. All right, and then in the first section here, 01 application display templates, let's go ahead and drag the card display template FreeMarker file into the Visual Studio Code. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get our starting points going here. Okay, so let's first add our first snippet here in this first section. So what we have here to start is essentially an if-else statement that allows us to check for content in the asset publisher. Okay, so our asset publisher may or may not have content on display. We want to make sure that we just have a bit of a failsafe here with our if-else statement. Okay, and we also want to go ahead and basically add some code here to set a message that there are no results if there are actually no pieces of content at that time on display. Okay, so again, this is just a bit of a failsafe for us to work with in the occasion where we've set all of this up, but we don't currently have any blogs on display. Okay, so let's go ahead and highlight our first snippet comment here. Okay, you guys should see this or be familiar with this by now. Go ahead and type LFR. Okay, and come down to where it says 09 no results message. We can go ahead and select that snippet. Okay. All right, so this is just giving us a very simple, again, a very simple failsafe for the case where we have no results. Okay, so we have an if statement checking to see if a user is not signed in. Okay, if they're not signed in, we're actually setting an attribute here to make the application visible. So by default, any of the display applications, including the asset publisher, if they do not have something in there, they will not be visible to their users. Okay. Now, it may be the case where that's exactly what you want, and if that's true, then we don't need this full if statement. But for our purposes, we do want to actually show them whether or not there are results. Okay, so this is just a quick example of that. We're checking to see if it's signed in or if they're signed in. If they are not signed in, we still want it to be true that they can see it. Okay, and then we also have this div here. Okay, using the alert and alert info classes. Those are some clay classes that give us a particular style. All right, and then we're using the Liferay UI message. This is a tag lib here to allow us to set a key. Okay, there are no results. Okay. All right, so that just gives us our failsafe to start. Now we can go ahead and making sure that our asset renderer is retrieving information on blogs. Okay, so currently we just have a list here. Okay, if you actually are working in the editor, there is an option to basically click in this starting point here. This is just listing all of the entries in the asset publisher because we have it dynamically updating by default. All right, so let's get a starting point here, and then we'll actually do some typing together to set the structure for this particular ADT. We're going to be taking advantage of some of the clay classes that we've talked about in the theme development section. Okay, so we'll see some of that in action. All right, so go ahead and type LFR. Okay, again, make sure you highlight the comment. All right, and go ahead and select the snippet that says 10 asset renderer. Okay. All right. Now, this is a big new section here, so I just came all the way back out to the front here. We basically have a giant assign here. Now, we've already seen that in FreeMarker we can assign variables, okay? So we're doing an assign string here. So we have current entry assigned to the current entry, and then the asset renderer, okay, is getting current entry dot get asset renderer. So this is how you're getting the actual asset renderer to give us information, okay? And then we can go ahead and get the entry title, again, so that'll be the blog title, the view URL, okay? Let me scroll down here so we can see this, okay? And we need all of these things to be able to display things. So the view URL is using the asset publisher helper get asset view URL here, okay, with some parameters that allow us to actually get the URL for any asset we have on display. Okay. And then we have, once we click on the URL, we have this set by using the asset link behavior to show full content. Okay. So essentially what this will allow us to do is use some of these variables to create our div structure and make it so that not only are each of our items, our blogs in this case, displayed in a certain way, but if we click on the blogs afterwards, we'll be able to actually see the full blog. Okay, so this is going to be a dynamic list. And then obviously when a user clicks on it, they'll be sent elsewhere to view the actual content. Okay. All right. So this gives us our starting point with all of our variables that we can use. So let's go ahead and come all the way down to the end of this line. Okay. And go ahead and press enter. And we're going to start building our div structure here. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this together. Let's create our first div. Okay. We're going to give it a class. All right, and we're going to go ahead and use the card class. Okay. So again, nice and easy. Card class is one of the clay classes that gives us a particular design. I, for one, like the card class. We're actually going to be using this relatively frequently throughout this course. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and obviously set the closing div. Okay. All right, so go ahead and come back to the top of the div structure here that we have so far, and we're going to go ahead and press enter and tab. Okay. And we're going to add an additional div, okay, with some new classes here. All right, we're going to use the figure class and the figure circle class. Okay. All right, and then we can close the div off here. Okay, so basically we're saying right now, for each item, we want it to be the card class, and then we want them to be figures, and these are going to be responsive. Again, we're taking advantage of both Clay and Bootstrap here. Okay. All right, so once we've done that, go ahead and hit enter and tab again. Okay. And we're going to have two sections here that we're working with. We're going to have the card header, and we're going to have the card body. Okay. So just help us to distinguish the different parts of each of our assets on display in the asset publisher. So go ahead and create a new div here. And we'll go ahead and type in class, where we can add card header. All right. And then we can obviously close this. Okay, and then we can go ahead and do a div, another div afterwards. Okay, and this is going to be the card body. Okay, so just card dash body. And then we're also going to do widget top bar, which is a class that is basically defined in our theme for each of our widgets. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do that so that we have it look a little bit similar to our widgets. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and close the div here as well. Okay, so this gives us our two main sections here. Okay, we have the header, we have the body. All right, now we're going to go ahead and fill them out. So go ahead and hit enter after the card header div and tab. Okay, go ahead and type LFR. And we can go ahead and find the 11 asset title snippet. So go ahead and find that. hit enter. Okay, and this just fills it out for us nice and easy. So we have the H3 element here with an asset title class. Okay, again, taking advantage of some clay classes here. All right, and then we have a link to the view URL and the current title. Okay, obviously the current title is going to be what's on display. The view URL is going to be where it links us. Okay, so since we've assigned those variables up top, makes it a lot easier for us to just simply create a simple link for the title of each blog entry. Okay, so that's nice and easy. Go ahead and come down here to the end of the card body div. We'll do enter and tab again. Okay, so we'll open that up. And we'll also do LFR for this and grab the last snippet called asset summary. It's going to be 12, asset summary. Okay. All right, so this does a little bit more for us here. Okay. First, we are getting the summary here, okay, using the asset renderer. And then we have a link. Okay, again, it contains the view URL, so we want to make sure that if they're clicking the title or the summary, they're getting that view URL. It'll take them to the full blog. Okay, and then we're adding a language key here with a key for read more. Okay, this, by the way, is a tag lib that just allows us to translate read more with the different language keys. We can add those language keys into our theme as well. Okay, and then we have this section here for the current title. Okay. All right, we're also using the hide accessible class, and this makes it easier for screen readers to take advantage of. So you can keep that in mind if you want to make your ADTs and your other templates user-friendly for everybody, including those who are using screen readers. All right, and lastly, we have this little section here that will give us some carrots. Okay, so it will say something like read more, and then it will have these little carrots here with a link. Okay. All right, so this is just a very simple, straightforward ADT that we can use. Okay, let's go ahead and bring this into the platform. All right, so let's go ahead and copy our entire new card display ADT. All right, and let's go ahead and open up Livingston again. So I'm going to open my browser. Okay, I left off in the blog section. Okay, but we're going to go to, in the menu, site administration, build, and application display templates. Okay, so that may take a second to load there. Okay, again, if it's taking a little too long, go ahead and just refresh and it will load it up for us. Okay, let's go ahead and click on the add button at the top right. Click on the asset publisher template. All right. Okay, so this is what the editor looks like, by the way. Like I said, if I wanted to, we can go in here and add asset entries, and this gives us that if statement that I mentioned earlier. Okay, this is just a basic starting point. You can do a single entry. There's some other variables we can take advantage of here, so portlet prefs, theme display, etc. We've actually seen some of these in action already. So it gives you a little bit that you can work with here. Okay, so let's go ahead and name our new ADT. Okay, we're going to call it card display template. If you want to call it simple card display or something like that, you can as well. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and delete the placeholder text and paste our new ADT in the editor. Okay. Additionally, if you wanted to save the file, you can go ahead and click choose file here and just add it in there. So for those of you guys who are more comfortable doing this in an editor, you can actually just create the files, save them, and hand off the free marker files to be added in using this choose file section. Okay, let's go ahead and come down and click save. This will give us our card display template. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and click Go to Site here in the Site Administration panel. I'm going to close the menu. All right, we'll see the Asset Publisher is currently displaying our blogs in a specific way. So let's go ahead and set our own display template. Okay, so click on Options and Configuration. Go ahead and click on Display Settings. And then for the display template, let's go ahead and choose our new card display template. Okay. All right. Now, in this particular beta build, unfortunately, it's a little bit hard to click on the save button. So you have two options. Either you can just go ahead and choose the regular Fjord theme in the menu, and it doesn't impact these pop-ups like this, or you can just go ahead and tab over to save and click it there. Okay. Like I said, this is a beta build of the product, so things are going to be, a little bit in the works. So this is going to be one of those things. All right. So I'm just going to tab over. It's going to be faster for me. If you guys want to go ahead and pause the video and choose the regular Fjord theme that is built with the product, it ships with the product, these things will not be as affected by that particular theme. Okay. So feel free to do either of those things. Okay. But if you're going to go ahead and tab with me, just going to go ahead and tab over to save until save is highlighted and hit enter. And that's going to go ahead and save it for me. Okay. All right. So either way, once you've saved it, you can go ahead and exit out of the pop-up here. Right. And we'll see just the basic template that we have working here. And again, we'll look at some more advanced options using some of those clay classes as well. Okay. But you'll see we have the title that's a link. All right. We have our summary and our read more button. Okay. And these will both open up our blog entries. Okay. All right. So I just opened it up. And again, these are just some dummy entries. Okay. But we also have a back button that will take us back here. Okay. So our content team could take this. They can clean up their blogs. They can further configure the asset publisher that is so it's displaying in a certain way. Okay. But this is what it would look like to create a simple ADT. Okay. And of course, I would encourage you, if you'd like, to go from here. You can go ahead and maybe create your own ADT, take advantage of some of those clay classes, and continue working with the ADT options that we have available. So maybe try another one. Maybe try one for navigation or categories navigation or the blogs display or something along those lines. Okay. So feel free to, after this video, get your feet wet and dive into looking at some of the other options and create some ADTs on your own. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and look at just a quick summary here, just a quick recap of this particular section. So in order to customize the look and feel of a number of our widgets that are available out of the box, we can go ahead and use these ADTs or application display templates. Okay. Developers can use an API to tack these on to your own custom widgets, your custom modules as well. All right. And just like we've seen before, these two are simply free marker templates. Free marker templates allow us to do a number of different things. We can take advantage of some of Liferay's API, and we can also take advantage of some of those clay classes or bootstrap classes as well. Okay. All right. So keep that in mind. Once we have our global look and feel complete with a theme, once you've set up the layout using those layout templates, you can also determine the presentation of your different widgets or applications using these ADTs. Okay. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and look at web content templates, which are specific to the web content asset. All right. So stay tuned and we'll get to that next.